MJ1.
MJ2. Good to see you. This is fine time. Hope everybody out in Mystery Ranch International World's doing wonderful. It's great to see you. We're shooting here from the Southern Alliance compound, the RAD bunker, X-Ray Zulu 322, call sign, Camelot. Yes, sir. Don't forget to comment, rate, subscribe, and turn on the notifications so you don't miss out on our next video.
That was Philip D. hit list coming in on the bumper rotation.
Yes, sir.
Hit list.
Yes, sir. What are we going to talk about tonight? Here, the Stargate project.
A little astral projection.
This was, I'm sure you guys have seen Men Who Stare at Goats or whatever that one's called, and even some of the Stranger Things kind of stuff. Psychic warriors and the CIA. CIA's always want to manipulate the minds of folks for different things.
Yeah. They're doing a good job, aren't they?
I think so.
Yep.
Yeah, you can look at pop culture today and see that it's a bunch of debaucherous nothing, mindless nothing, and you wonder why. Well, we can get into all this. Why would pop culture and the media want to push just mindless nothing? Is it to weaken our minds, to be more easily manipulated? I think so.
A weaker mind is a more malleable. You know, it's easier to form.
I guess so.
Definitely.
So, the Stargate project is Physic Warriors and the CIA. That's what we're going to talk about. This is some
this kind of deals
sci-fi
with
kind of stuff we're talking about, but you people need to understand that the CIA has always been trying to be one step ahead of the game with anything they can, dating back to who knows when. So were the Nazis, so were whoever that wanted to be one step ahead. Anything.
This kind of deals with Stranger Things and the remote viewing sense of it, basically. Where they would put her in that vat and everything else.
The salt vats where you float, kind of like the sea salt.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, you know, there was that cool scene in Stranger Things where he wants her to go in there, and there's a Russian officer. This is, of course, during the Cold War. There's a Russian officer sitting there, and she walks up to him in the other dimension, you know, to get close to him, and he's sitting there, obviously speaking in Russian, and all the government people wanted her to do was tell them what they were saying, but and I guess then kill him afterwards. But anyway,
kind of like Acoustic Kitty.
But
remote viewing,
fourth dimensional or whatever. So metaphysical and psychic phenomena have been long existed on the fringe of conventional science and academia. ESP, clairvoyance, telekinesis, and astral traveling have all been regulated to the backseat of mainstream accepted belief systems. In spite of an extensive mention of these practices down the ages across myriad cultures, it has always been challenging for practitioners of the science to be validated by the prevailing status quo. Because obviously, when we're talking about this stuff with, you know, psychic type of stuff, obviously our government and the CIA have been practicing any type of edge they could get on any of this, but yet in mainstream society we're going to be deemed as weirdo conspiracy theorists just for talking about it. And all we're talking about is stuff that's documented for public knowledge by our government studies, you know.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, there's some weird stuff out in WikiLeaks and stuff like that.
The status quo is changing, though.
It has, definitely.
1995, the CIA declassified a top-secret program that had been training individuals in the esoteric science of remote viewing, in which it was claimed people were able to envision ongoing activities in distant places and even future events.
Mm-hmm.
So they're trying to pretty much, there was some, there's a million Tom Cruise movies about weirdo future stuff, but one of them, I can't even remember the name, they were pretty much getting people for crimes before they ever were committed.
Yeah, I do remember that movie.
I don't even know what it was called, but...
Was he gay in that movie?
That's John Travolta.
Oh.
Easy.
Gotcha.
We're going to have some stuff coming to you about some occult, weird Scientology stuff, but that'll be later.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Moving on. Although reminiscent of a sci-fi yarn, remote viewing was tested and deployed under rigorous scientific conditions to obtain data about foreign espionage activities, counterterrorism efforts, secret military bases abroad, and hidden missiles. It recognized... Was that C.I.A. tapping in?
I'm sorry.
It recognized the inherent psychic potential in humans and attempted to harness these special faculties or powers for the purposes of intelligence gathering, often on a vital nature. The initial testing was done at the Stanford Research Institute, where SRI. You know where they got their name from? After MRI. They were doing that remote viewing back in the 1950s, and they're like, "There's these guys at MRI."
Like, let's look at 2017. What's going on there? MRI's taking control of everything.
Where extensive investigations were carried out into the human mind's capacity to transcend all bounds of time and space. SRI's research was supported by the CIA and other government agencies for over 2 decades. So, Russell Targ, Hal Puthoff, and Ingo Swan. Now, if them ain't commies, I don't know what is. They don't sound like the good old American boys at the end of the block.
I think Kenny Johnson or nothing.
Kenny Johnson. I know it. Were the original founders of this once secret program. Their task was to learn to understand physical abilities and to use these abilities to gather information about the Soviet Union during the Cold War. They found from years of experience that people can quickly learn to do remote viewing and can frequently incorporate this direct knowing of the world, both present and future, into their lives. We were excuse me. We were watching an interview earlier, and you people have heard this before, but that we use only 10% of our brain, that it's already there. It's only the matter of extracting it. And what we were watching was an interview from a supposed Montauk Project survivor.
Look at the Montauk Project, folks.
Yeah. And it's coming to light since Stranger Things. They think Stranger Things was
based a lot of their stuff on this Montauk Project.
And I think maybe back in 2010, somewhere around there, there's called something the Montauk Monster, and it was this beast that was washed up on the beach, and it looked like it was the size of like a medium-sized dog, and it had a beak, and it had like some weird ass eyes. And weird claws, and it was like hairless, and it was nasty looking.
Some sort of Nephilim created demonic scientific
demonotology. Yeah.
Anyway.
So moving on.
Well, these people we're talking about, kind of that little girl in Stranger Things or whatever, They were kind of the original sci spies, but not sci-fi, more like college, psychiatry, psychology, physical. Named after the title of Jim Marrs' exhaustive study of the phenomenon. The project produced some remarkable results. Among them were detailed renderings of secret Soviet bases, the whereabouts of Red Brigade terrorism, hostages in Italy, location of victims in the Israeli hostage crisis, locations of Scud missiles during the First Gulf War, and even the impending attack on the Twin Towers in New York, done by a private contractor and ignored until after the event. The program eventually came to be called Operation Stargate. And this was a bunch of, people that supposedly were psychics, giving info. And of course, that's been used for many, many years. But it's always not seen mainstream. I wouldn't want to mess with it because it's, forces that I don't think people should mess with. But the initial media that surrounded the declassification in 1995 uncovered some surprising details. On ABC's Nightline, one of the operatives, Joe McMoneagle, was put to the test by none other than Ted Koppel. He was able to prove the authenticity of the system with flying colors.
Who would have known?
I don't know.
Remote viewers can often contact, experience, and describe a hidden object or a remote natural or architectural site based on the presence of cooperative persons at the distant locations, or when given geographical coordinates or some other target demarcation, which they call an address. Shape, form, and color are described much more reliably than the target's name, function, or other analytical information. In addition to vivid visual imagery, viewers sometimes describe associated feelings, sounds, smells, and even electrical or magnetic fields. Blueprints' accuracies have occasionally...
Electromagnetic fields is a big deal in the future. We'll come to.
Yeah.
It's the weapons of the future, but go ahead.
And then, no. Yeah, I mean, it is. Blueprint accuracy has occasionally been achieved in these double-blinded experiments. And reliability in a series can be as high as 80%. I'll go with that. I mean, if I was betting on a horse.
These are betting odds.
Yeah.
It's a winner.
Come on, Blue-Gray. Let's go. Hit that track. In 1984, Targ organized a pair...
Come on, Stroke Race. You got this race.
Come on, Cannon Sides. We can come up with some more horse names, I'm sure, but...
I've seen a lot of weird ones. It'd be like, come on, Cannonball, Daddy's sisters, brothers, four-legged, whatever.
Come on, Kenny Johnson. In the 1984, Targ organized a pair... not like retard, but Targ. Retard? 1984, Retard organized a pair of...
You could say retard in 1984. That was the thing. That's why I even brought it up.
Organized a pair of successful 10,000-mile remote viewing experiments between Moscow and San Francisco. With name... So
those are two... Well, never mind.
I know, and that's exactly what I was... Yeah.
Their politics are the same.
Yes.
In Moscow and San Francisco.
So, 1984, in the height of the Cold War, we do a remote viewing experiment. I guess it's joint experiment between communist San Francisco and communist Moscow. I don't know. With famed Russian healer Zhuna Davashchilvili. I nailed it, didn't I?
Exactly.
Okay. Jonas.
Your pronunciation is unbelievable to be.
Oh my goodness.
6 months in Russia.
I think the whatever the maker's mark held. Jonas' task was to describe where colleagues would be hiding in San Francisco's.
Plenty of commies in San Francisco.
Yeah, she had to focus her attention 10,000 miles to the west and 2 hours into the future to correctly describe his location. These experiments were performed under auspicious and control of the USSR Academy of Sciences. Juna hit the mark on all counts, and the experiment was described as success. Successes.
Success is good.
Oh.
So, 10 years earlier, in 1974,
I will make you look 10,000 miles away and 2 hours into the future.
that sounds like some demano science if I've ever heard it myself.
Damn.
It's weirdo stuff, man. We've been researching so much stuff you folks wouldn't believe. These devil worshippers have been summoning aliens. It's craziness. But anyway, we'll get into that later.
Jack Parsons. Jack Parsons, I mean, he's pretty much an Antichrist. You might as well just say that.
It is unbelievable. I know what they made Jack Parsons band now. Or the Jack Parsons Project. That was the name of the band, Jack Parsons Project. Because he's in the weird demano science creating NASA. That's why. Anyway, dude, there's just not enough time in the day, folks, for a working man to get her done.
No.
Tell you what. But we got so much to bring you. Anyway, this experiment James was talking about 10 years prior to that, in 74, this cat named Russell Targ that he was talking about, and his colleague Hal Puthoff. I'm gonna put it off. His name is Puthoff.
He was a slacker.
Because he's gonna put it off. Anyway, Hal Puthoff carried out a demonstration of psychic abilities for the CIA. Pat Price, a retired police commissioner, described the inside and outside of a secret Soviet weapons laboratory in the far reaches of Siberia, given only the geographical coordinates of latitude and longitude for a reference. That is, with no on-site cooperation. This trial was such a stunning success that they were forced to undergo a formal congressional investigation to determine if there had been a breach in national security. Of course, none was ever found, and the government supported them for another 15 years.
Wow. So 15 plus 74.
And we had
that's 89.
Yeah. We called some stuff black budget in a video before. We only talked about the budget that's known to the public. We're not talking about C.I.A. dope money. We're talking the weirdo alien crap they're doing. We're talking about stuff that they actually allow the public to see.
Yeah.
Before. I just wanted to make that clear because I said $3 billion, which is a huge amount of money to most people, and it is. That's what we know about, folks. There's a whole black budget that we called it a black budget, but there's so much money to do. You can't put laser beams on shark heads or whatever and let the people know about it. Anyway.
And there are laser beams. There's a project.
Well,
with
there's
laser beams.
Testing done on shark heads. We're going to do that on there. Where they're putting stuff. They're pretty much putting this electrical crap in shark brains to try to control them and read data on currents and everything else. It's real, folks.
It's awesome.
It's real.
That's Austin Powers stuff right there.
Laser beams.
Data from these formal and controlled SRI investigations were highly statistically significant, thousands of times greater than chance expectations, and had been published in the world's most prestigious journals such as nature. I missed that one.
It is prestigious though.
It is prestigious. We will go with that, definitely. The proceedings of the Institute of Electrical and Electromagnetic Engineers, you know those guys get laid. You know those dudes are pounding. The proceedings...
Grandma, forgive me.
The proceedings of the Academy of Sciences. She knows what I'm talking about.
He does. She's cool. Cool.
The 20 years of remote viewing research conducted by the CIA is outlined in Miracles of Mind, exploring non-local consciousness and spiritual healing.
Any demon scientist worth his weight in salt is going to...
Oh, yeah. CIA came up with New Age back in 1961.
No scientific experiment goes well without a little demonology thrown in the mix to make it go smooth.
It's interesting that CIA would come up with what would that be classified as? Like the movements, like the New Age movement. It's like let's reverse
the Babylonian sex ritual movement.
Yeah, it's even though they knew the trajectory of New Age would be anti-capitalism and everything else, it's like let's put that out there. And anti-American. It's interesting. It's like, what do they know? You know? Because, I mean, I promise you they did it for a reason. You know? It's like CIA comes up with conspiracy theorist. The term. They coined that term.
She'd hire us.
Don't know it. Recent research in areas as different as distant healing.
I don't even know about that.
That's crazy. And quantum physics are in agreement with the oldest spiritual teachings of the sages of India, who taught that separation is an illusion. The powers we are discovering now are described by research, or the seeds of fruits of deep penance and arcane yogic techniques. Verbally transmitted.
Sat under a frozen waterfall for like 3 days. Ate nothing but cabbage and carrots, and I've been enlightened. Just kidding.
It's funny, but it is not funny. That, I mean, yoga goes back to demonic techniques and everything.
I'm struggling to.
I mean, I know that. It's
all these
it's a big circle.
Old spiritual from ancient Judaism, the spiritual part of ancient Judaism to this to.
What did that dude on Desmond on the demonic? He I have to lead in this. Just speaking of like ancient.
What was it, Sanskrit?
No, it was like a dead Sumerian language, and
what are they talking about? One
so
of the 13 families of the Illuminati were
from
during a time period that became the Sumerians.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's like we've talked about in the past. I mean, all these conspiracy theorists. It is interesting to see it go in a big circle.
We haven't put it all out there yet, folks.
No.
We're coming to a full circle. We've got a pretty big video we're going to come out with at some point that brings Hollywood and pop culture and Satanism and all these things to a full circle, and
it shows how
we've
really look
been
at Hollywood
misled.
right now. Yeah, pedophilia runs the government.
Look how big Scientology is.
Mm-hmm. That goes into JPL. Jack Parsons.
Jack Parsons and L. Ron Hubbard, who created Scientology and wrote all these books about aliens, And these guys, we got some stuff for you folks you're not going to believe.
It's pretty.
You should, because it's history and it's fact.
We're gonna have like
We're getting off topic here.
we're gonna have to take down the American flag, and we're gonna have to put up all these things and do like a yarn stretch from each one, and it's gonna point, and you'll.
It's
Yeah. It's crazy.
It's unbelievable.
Anyways, by arcane yogic techniques verbally transmitted only
I'm on
known
another plane, bruh.
to inner circles. Forbidden knowledge. You know, you go to Genesis, that's the apple. It's
I don't think it says apple. It could be lots of things.
But it goes to but that's all that's the case for the Illuminati is that
Forbidden knowledge.
forbidden
They
knowledge.
want that knowledge that we all just need.
It's
we could all get through life without.
it's
And live a humble life and.
that goes to the binary code. I mean, to where there's like simple fractions that you can do that supposedly only Illuminati can, and it will lead to the same number every single time. But yeah. Yep.
My goodness.
Claude, have mercy.
People ain't got no idea. But we're gonna bring it to you. The military and institutional exploitation of this timeless phenomenon is alarming. There's definitely been some children like what's her name in Stranger Things. There's been some unconstitutional stuff go on for these kind of weirdo psychophysics studies. But anyway, these studies of phenomenon, it's been being harnessed by world governments in a game of cosmic brinkmanship, none of whom can possibly know the complete ratifications of unleashing such a latently devastating forces without comprehending the holistic nature of the universe and interconnectedness of all life. What is remarkable, however, is the fact that the cat is out of the bag finally with regard of parapsychology, metaphysics, and the occult. There's a lot of things coming out on the occult. I don't know how many Amazon Prime folks we got out there. There's a lot of cool stuff.
Yeah.
I guess we are going into an era of, what do you want to call it?
Enlightenment.
Enlightenment. So
For a good enlightenment.
I think it is a good enlightenment.
Yeah.
I think it is a good enlightenment.
Oh, you should see how much stuff has come out just in the year 2017.
That's awesome.
It's a lot of it's remake, some of it's brand new. It's unbelievable.
I think the mainstream world's getting ready to introduce us to aliens, maybe. I don't know. But
I don't know.
the so-called mainstream.
Thanks, Jack Parsons.
Mm-hmm. The so-called mainstream has not only recognized the stunning potential of psychic energy, but has gone so far as to harness it for territorial one-upmanship.
Oh.
The human race only needs to realize the vast reserves of raw power that it has at its disposal to effect profound and genius transformation of the human condition on a global scale. Going to get some of that just energy out the air they've been talking about for the last 60 years or whatever.
Somebody tells us stuff.
This tall
I want me
grays.
some of
The
that
tall grays done explained it all. They've explained it all. We don't even. It. Wait about 60 years. We got it. Don't worry about it. And
I
then
can't
we'll-
wait for
Then we'll be
the-
slaves.
Yeah. I can't wait for like the tall grays to have to like deal with some like cornbread fed Alabamian.
With AR-15s. They don't even need full automatic. They don't even need full automatic. They're such good shot.
Oh,
Such good
my
shots.
goodness.
They'll
Like hip shot 'em,
once
like,
they realize where wherever the vital organ is, even though it may be like over here, we don't know.
Phil Schneider says they are, you know.
He took a few down, didn't he?
He took a beat down. Definitely.
All right, folks. We love you. Thank you for watching another wonderful episode of Mystery Ranch International. Please don't forget to comment, rate, subscribe, turn on the notifications. We don't want you to miss another video because We're coming out with all kinds of stuff. It's all the money.
And the power.
Faith.